In 1976, in a nondescript California garage, two young men assembled a computer on less than $0 and no backing from any corporation. Less than half a century after that, the company would touch a market value above $3 trillion. Its ecosystem now supports more than 2.2 billion active devices worldwide. Its products rest in pockets, on desks, and in hands all over the world, across every continent. Its share price is among the most actively traded on Wall Street. Its launches move global markets. Its design language has cascaded through an entire industry. This isn't just a tech company, it is a system of power. The dialogue to focus on brand 4, a brand for precision, control, and profit. But under those clean glass stores of New York, behind the white minimalist stages, behind the trillion-dollar milestones, supply chains stretch across continents. There are billions in legal battles. There are regulatory investigations. There are intense internal demands. This is the story of Apple, the garage. It starts in Los Altos, California, a suburban neighborhood, a wooden garage. Steve Jobs was 21 years old. Steve Wozniak was 25. Wozniak built the circuitry. Jobs had been about vision and distribution. They developed the Apple I as their first product. It sold for $666.66. It was a circuit board, but not a full computer. No case, no keyboard included. Buyers had to put components together themselves. But it worked. And in Silicon Valley's burgeoning culture, that was enough. Apple Computer Company was officially founded on April 1st, 1976. In 1977, the Apple II came out. Unlike the Apple I, it was fully assembled, colorful, and ready for consumers. It was one of the earliest widely successful mass-produced personal computers. Revenue grew from thousands to millions. By 1980, Apple went public. Over $100 million were made from the IPO. It was then one of the largest public offerings since Ford Motor Company in 1956. But growth brought pressure. Leadership disagreements intensified. Different visions clashed. Inside boardrooms, tension was rising. Collapse and return. By 1985, the internal rift had exploded into open conflict. Jobs was removed from operational control. He went on to resign from the company he helped found. Apple entered a difficult decade. It was the market share that fell throughout the 1990s. Confusing product lines, financial instability. By 1997, Apple was supposedly weeks away from bankruptcy. Its stock price had plummeted. Then came a reversal. Apple purchased Next, the company that Jobs had established after being ousted. Jobs returned, initially as an advisor, soon after as interim CEO. He simplified the product lineup, cut unnecessary projects, gave the company a design and user experience focus. In 1998, the iMac launched. It was bold, colorful, different. In 2001, the iPod arrived. The iPhone arrived in 2007. The iPhone did not just compete with other phones. It redefined the category. Within 10 years, it was Apple's top source of income. In the 2023 fiscal year, Apple generated more than $383 billion in revenue. The bulk of more than half came from the iPhone. The comeback was complete, but scale introduced new complexities. The supply chain reality. Apple requires a sprawling worldwide supply chain to manufacture hundreds of millions of devices each year. It depends on manufacturing partners throughout Asia. One of the most notable suppliers is Foxconn. In 2010, international media reported a series of worker suicides given Foxconn factories in China. The reports drew global attention. There were questions about working hours, production quotas, dormitory-style living conditions. The electronics sector as a whole was also put under the microscope. Apple responded publicly. The company increased supplier audits. It became a member of the Fair Labor Association. It started issuing annual supplier responsibility reports. Millions of workers would be covered by its so-called supplier code of conduct, according to Apple's own disclosures. Apple says it demands adherence to labor standards and conducts regular audits of facilities. But the larger question is more complicated. Global manufacturing is based on speed, scale, and cost efficiency. Consumers demand rapid product cycles. Investors expect growth. Factories operate around tight deadlines. The question is no longer simple, but structural. How does a business keep perfection at scale? And what's the human price of global production networks? The tax controversy. In 2016, the European Commission determined that Apple had received illegal tax benefits from Ireland. The decision required Apple to pay about 13 billion euros in taxes owed. It turned into one of the largest corporate tax cases ever. Apple rejected the decision. The company had maintained that it complied with Irish and international tax laws. Ireland also appealed. The case bounced around European courts for years. To its critics, the dispute was a cautionary tale of how multinational corporations legally arrange profits across jurisdictions. To supporters, it mirrored competition among governments for corporate investment. No matter the perspective, the case exposed a reality of modern corporate power. When firms are global, tax is international politics, and billions of dollars are on the line. The App Store battle. In 2020, Epic Games sued Apple over the tech giant's 30% cut of in-app purchases. Epic implemented a direct pay system within Fortnite. Fortnite was pulled from the App Store by Apple. A legal dispute began. At the heart of it was a foundational issue. Does Apple have a closed ecosystem that stifles competition? Or does it offer a secure platform that warrants its commission? Court rulings were mixed. Some practices were upheld, others were questioned, but the larger argument was not limited to one company. It was focused on control of digital marketplaces, app distribution, platform economics. As the world grows more governed by software, access control is revenue control. The culture of perfection. Former employees have often described Apple's culture as demanding, highly secretive, detail-oriented. Product reviews are rigorous. Design iterations are constant. Deadlines are non-negotiable. Real artists ship, Steve Jobs once said. That philosophy is still embedded in the company. Apple does not release products just any old time. It does so on regular annual cycles. Each refinement appears incremental, but even the smallest design decisions are born from months of deliberation behind closed doors. At this scale, perfection requires discipline, and discipline requires pressure. From a suburban garage to a company worth trillions, Apple stands for innovation, risk, and reinvention. It embodies the American entrepreneurial story, but it also highlights the complexity of modern corporate systems, global supply chains, international taxation, digital marketplace control. Scale changes everything. It is not about good Apple, bad Apple. The real question is this: in a world manufactured by global scale, can perfection ever remain simple? Tomorrow, we look at yet another American giant, a company that became as good at logistics as Apple was at design. The story of Samsung